Allow me to begin with an excerpt from a story. He smiled. Wow. What? She asked. It's just, I thought Laurel was a pretty name. But Lila, that's even prettier. Thanks. The corners of her mouth turned down slowly as the little girl began to weep again. She grabbed the prison bars and leaned her head against the back of her hand. He placed his hand on top of her head. That part of you will stay safe, Lila. I won't tell anyone. That's the real you, and no one can touch that. Understand? Her forehead rubbed against her hand as she nodded. Then she looked up at him, eyes like wet amber flames. My mom just called me Lai. You want me to say it? He asked. Please. He felt a knot in his own throat. She began so cold. Now she begged him for love. How long had it been since someone really paid attention to her? How long since someone treated her like something more than an object to be thrown around? Hello, Lai, he said, trying her real name. So when we're kids, what are the things that influence us the most? I think we could safely say our mom and dad. Our parents are often considered our first teachers. And then maybe our siblings. At least my older brother has taught me a lot. You don't have to tell him that. But my other siblings as well. I mean, I learned a lot from each of them, and they've made me who I am. So maybe we could take this grouping, the family, and mark that as our first block of influence as we're growing up. And then what would be the second block and third block? I'm not sure. There's a lot of things. People always say faith and family are the most important things. So let's group in our religious beliefs, going to church, the priests that gave us homilies as we were growing up, as well education, and obviously our friends, coaches, teachers, etc. So when I was preparing, I came up with about 5 blocks that you could group them into before I came to the theme of this talk, and that is the art we consume. I'm serious. If you think about it, just beginning with, for example, stories. You know, when you're little, you hear the story of the 3 little pigs and the big bad wolf. And then you graduate to Dr. Seuss. And then from then on, you go to maybe, Hunger Games, Suzanne Collins, or later on to Stephen King or other great novelists. And then as well, there's the classics that we were forced to read, like Charles Dickens, who's great. But these are all stories, and they form the way we think. And Brother Riley can get into that afterwards. The importance of story. And that's not even getting into the movies. Every boy nowadays wants to be either Iron Man or Captain America, or both. And then you get to the music. The music is constant. It gives messages. It gives stories. And it's always around us. And behind every artwork is the artist. And the artist is the 6th block. So the excerpt I began with today was from a story I've been working on for about 3 years now. And it's a short excerpt from a short chapter. And I published that chapter on Wattpad about a month ago. And I have 70 views, which is pretty good. And I started getting comments saying, wow, that was so touching, or that was moving. Someone said compelling. And the point is not that I'm a good writer. I'm an amateur. I'm just starting. The point is that that's only 70 views of a 7-minute story. Imagine someone like J.K. Rowling, who has 500 million copies of her books sold. I saw a statistic that 18% of young Americans, that's almost a fifth, have read all of the Harry Potter books. That's a lot of content, and a lot of people reading that content. Imagine if an artist, an author like J.K. Rowling, if she had at her core the Christian message. And there's a lot of other examples I could give. I could get into the theory, the power of story, or the evidential power of beauty. But I'd like to move on to a quick conclusion and then hand it off to Brother Riley. So 3 seconds. What is the Regnum Christi charism? Sorry, the Regnum Christi mission. Regnum Christi mission is forming leaders. I think we could look at it 2 ways. You take good Christians and give them the tools they need to become effective leaders. Or you take people who are already leaders and give them the Christian message, give them Christ. And I think it doesn't take very long at all to see how this applies to artists. I think obviously artists are very effective leaders, and we can give them the message of Christ. And also we can encourage good Christians to make good, powerful, strong artwork. So very, very quickly, how would I suggest doing that? Well, I had 4 points. Perhaps there are more. I would still need to develop it. The first 2 would be more, how do we foster an attitude or prepare ourselves to become formators of artists? And I think the first would be consume good art. So watch lots and lots of movies. No, I'm just kidding. But do watch, read good stories, listen to good music, so that you can have, you can know what good art is and the potential that it has. The second one would be maybe try your hand at some kind of artwork. And that way it could be a conversation starter with an artist someday, or later on, as well, you develop the appreciation for communication. You learn how to communicate through the arts, and you can use that in your apostolate. The other 2 are more exterior, and that would be 1, encourage art. Encourage Christians that you know, people that you know that are interested in the arts, to pursue that, and let them know that the world does need those good artworks. I was talking to Brother Eleazar Palma recently. Sorry, Eleazar, he's not a brother. And he told me that there was recently a big scandal in Hollywood that some of the biggest filmmakers were discovered to be linked to children trafficking and Satanism and things like that. And he says there's really a need for strong artists nowadays. So one would be encourage people to stand up and be artists. The other one would be contact artists. Send them a quick email, tell them, this really inspired me. Thank you for what you do. I'm praying for you. And that also gives testimony to them. And then probably won't respond, but if they do, it could have some impact. So those were 4 quick points, which were to consume art, to be an artist, and then after that, the more apostolic approach, to encourage artists and to reach out to artists. And why would we do that? Because artists are leaders, and art opens hearts.